Again, to Let's Talk. Welcome to Let's Talk Science with Pastor Dan. In church, we've been going over the Ten Commandments with kids. My wife does the puppets, and I sit out front and the interaction to give somebody for the kids to bounce off and to focus the children occasionally. And we've been working through that. You get to the sixth commandment, thou shalt not kill, and people have some issues with that. Specifically when it comes to either the concept of war or to capital punishment. Now, the problem here, I think, is the way that the word is translated. The word there in the text is actually murder. It's not kill. Because God calls upon his people to eliminate people from the land. When they move into the land of Canaan, he tells them that they're totally destroy, leave no one behind, men, women, children. And that seems horrific, and it is. But the problem is that the sin of the people is far worse than eliminate everyone there. You see, the people there were followers of a God, and they would sacrifice their children in the fire. In other words, they would have children. In order to please their god Moloch, they would put the child on an altar that was two arms, and then they had fire underneath it and literally burned the child alive. That is a horrendous, grievous action. And the justice of God calls forth for vengeance, for restitution, and to stop that practice. And the only way to do that is to eliminate those people so that practice should stop. Now, the problem with Israel is they never quite totally eliminated the people, and then they started following the same practices. And so that became the problem upon the land. And what about capital punishment? We see, I've heard somebody argue with me before, the state shouldn't be able to do what the individual can't do. Well, the issue here is that in certain cases, that sin is so grievous that an action needs to be taken. Now, is there forgiveness? Yes. Is there mercy? Yes. Is there atonement? Yes. But it doesn't change the fact that the punishment also needs to be exacted. I really, when I preached in prison one time, I really messed up and got some of the guys in really almost upset because I was talking about forgiveness, and I told them that Jeffrey Dahmer had accepted Christ before he was killed in prison, and I believe that Dahmer, because he accepted Christ, is in heaven. Oh, they just had a problem with that. How can somebody that horrible? There are certain sins that are just too far. That's not what the word says. There's no sin that can't be forgiven. If you ask, now that doesn't mean that the penalty doesn't still have to be paid, and that's why he ultimately, he was killed because of a fight in prison. But I also remember I did a book. I wrote a fiction story. One of the reasons why I did it was, I believe her name was Carla Faye Tucker. She was an inmate in Texas, and she was executed. She had come to Christ. She had married. She had completely changed her life, but the actions that she took still needed to be atoned for, even though Jesus paid this price spiritually. There's a civil cost that needed to be exacted, and so she was killed. Do I think that we can find mercy? Yes, but I am because God calls for it, and what that does is it sets a precedent. People know that they can't live forever if they do certain actions, and that does have a tendency to change their behavior, knowing that there are consequences. Part of the problems we're seeing right now with our justice system is that people know that they can get away with anything and then not have a consequence for it. Alrighty. So that's what we talked about. That's what I'm talking about with you. Hopefully not too bad. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment. Any questions, let me know. Take care. God bless. Bye.